Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much again for attending. I know virtual is not quite what we expected for this hug, but thank you again for attending. I hope that we can get out to Denver at some point, see you all. It will be lovely to meet you. But again, thank you for attending. So to start things off, this is very sensitive. Hi, I'm Jory, and I am an inbound professor with HubSpot Academy. HubSpot Academy, for those of you that don't know, is HubSpot's free e-learning platform where we create education about marketing, sales, and services best practices. And if you're really looking to stay up to date on where the market is going in any of those kind of industries or professions, I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't already. You'll find me on HubSpot Academy in anything reporting. I feel like I could talk forever about reporting strategy, but also debate ad nauseum about flywheels versus funnels because I am a fan of the funnel report. But I live in a flywheel world. So big fan of funnels and flywheels. I'm also a big Game of Thrones aficionado. I'm still not over how that season ended. So if you ever want to chat about Game of Thrones and just rehash it out, I'm your gal. And then I love cooking shows. Gordon Ramsay is the man.
The best.
Big fan of Gordon Ramsay. So I'm also big into the cooking shows. So I'm going to turn it over to my co-host.
Thank you very much. I'm Annie, and I'm an inbound professor on Academy, and I focus on creating education about the platform, so all things integration, in addition to workflows. And I could talk forever about automation, education. Fun fact, I actually have my elementary teaching license in Massachusetts. So
that's amazing.
If I couldn't work for HubSpot anymore tomorrow, I could go into teaching. Food and restaurants, you know, I'm a big love.
You're a big foodie.
Yeah. If you guys ever come to Boston, need restaurant recommendations, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn. I also love traveling and Shark Tank. Shark Tank's my go-to show, but also Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay, man. Yeah. The amount of times that I impersonate that man in a day, it's a little embarrassing. Really embarrassing.
All right. So today's agenda. Let's go over what we're going to go through today. So campaigns in 2020, let's talk about what they look like, what makes them successful, and then we'll talk about how to look at them through the lens of contextualization. So we'll review the tools that help you get in touch with leads and deliver a really great website experience. Then we'll look at it from the lens of optimization. So how are you using data to better that website experience for your visitors and drive growth for your business? And then finally, we're going to look at some case studies and cover really quickly how other companies have used HubSpot to run their marketing campaigns to improve lead gen efforts and efficiency throughout their business. But before we dive in, I actually want to tie everything back to today's intention. So regardless of the health risks that are present, and we are all still here today to learn what HubSpot tools are available to run a successful marketing campaign. And we ultimately just want you to leave inspired with at least one actionable next step to help your business grow better. Let's do a quick review of what campaigns are. So a campaign is an organized course of action to achieve a goal, a connected series of operations designed to bring about a particular result. But now when we look specifically at marketing campaigns, we think of tons of creative ads, social media posts, and emails that really stuck with us. And these are just some of my personal favorites.
Yes, gotta love Popeye's chicken.
But what makes a good campaign in 2020? So campaigns in 2020 have a single goal, have a specific target audience. They consider what the audience will see and when they'll see it. They're personalized, and they collect data that's ultimately going to help improve your campaigns in the future. So now let's dive through this handful of traits. So first, they have a single goal. What do we mean by that? So you want to start broad when you're first considering your goal. Maybe you want to do something like gather customer feedback or boost user engagement. Maybe you're just simply promoting a new product. Whatever it is, think of one small goal and then slowly transform that goal into a SMART goal. Now, what do we mean by SMART goals? So SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So instead of just saying something like we want to increase leads, you might set a goal like by April 30th of 2020, the marketing team is going to generate 500 new marketing qualified leads. And then you want to make sure that campaign your campaigns have a specific target audience. So your marketing campaigns can reach many different types of people in a broad audience, but you want to make sure you're identifying your target viewers. Doing so is going to empower you to target your content and attract leads who actually have a real shot at converting into customers. Then your campaign should consider what the audience is going to see and when they'll see it. In this step, it's crucial to take a step back and really do your research. So find out what channels your target persona typically uses. What social media platforms are they on? Consider when and where they'll view your content. Next, campaigns in 2020 are personalized. This is one of my favorites. So with today's technology, people expect personalization. It's now a requirement. And to do personalization right, you need data. So make sure you're collecting important data on your prospects so you can create those customized website experiences. And to take it one step further, you want to make sure you're maintaining a clean database so that you're delivering the right content to the right people, ultimately at the right time. And finally, you want to collect data that's going to help improve campaigns in the future. So not only are you collecting data on your visitors, you're collecting data on how your campaigns are performing. You want to monitor your KPIs, refer back to your goals, and consider what can be changed for better results down the line. Now, as I mentioned, today we're going to look at campaigns in 2020 from the lens of contextualization and optimization. So contextualization is how and when are you getting in touch with your leads and customers. So you need to contextualize your campaigns to the needs of your persona. And then how are you optimizing? So how are you analyzing campaign performance and implementing better changes for results? So how are you using the HubSpot software to optimize your assets at scale? Now, contextualization is the process or methodology of personalizing a visitor's experience based on who they are and what they're looking for. And when we think about a company that does contextualization the best, many of us think of Amazon. So this is actually Amazon's website back in 2012. This is right around the time where responsive web design elements started making their way into websites to allow for phones, tablets, desktops to all view the same web page clearly. And now when we look at Amazon's page today, each visitor has a unique experience. So I would love if in the chat people could write how Amazon is using contextualization here.
How'd you even get a picture of Amazon in 2012?
I have my ways.
Amazing.
Googled.
You Googled.
History of
Great.
Amazon homepage.
Amazing. All right, so let's take a look at the chat. Let's see, recently viewed.
That's a great one. So Amazon knows that I recently shopped for command hooks, and I can actually click through there and edit my browsing history to have Amazon further customize that pane for me. Yep, it's pulling in my membership inclinations as well as serving up suggestions based on previous orders. Right, so it sees my recent purchases. And I love that. Amazon is greeting me by name. So not only do I see my name here, on the top left, I can actually confirm that that's my location, right? So I know that my deliveries are going to get shipped to the correct address. Video recommendations. I'm so glad that you pointed that out. So I know I just got a little snippet of that on the bottom of the screen, but not only is Amazon recommending videos that I might want to watch, they're showing me Prime membership videos that are actually similar to videos that I watch in general. And so maybe that'll kind of pull me in to watching more of their videos versus going somewhere else like Netflix, Hulu, or HBO.
And good catch, Diane. It actually recently was Annie's birthday.
Last week.
So cake and beverage, there you go.
I didn't even notice that.
Amazing.
But that is amazing.
Diane with the eyes. Great stuff.
So if you didn't notice, I don't think anyone pointed this out, but actually at the top of my screen, there's actually a tab called anniesamazon.com. I'm not sure if that one came up.
Someone mentioned your name.
But let's actually look at what happens when you click into this page. So here you can see my purchase history and how Amazon is collecting data on my shopping habits to ultimately recommend a shopping experience that's a lot easier for me. So they break it down actually into every category. So pet products, hair products, beauty, and so on and so forth. We had the dog before we sent him. to California. Okay. I used to have a dog. We send it to California to be with the rest of our family. But
let's see.
Great.
Oh.
So ultimately, why does contextualization matter? So people do business with companies that really understand your experience and interactions. And you want to draw your visitors to your website through non-disruptive methods. You don't want to seem spammy. You don't want people to bounce off the page right away. And you want to become a trustworthy source, because ultimately that's what's going to lead people to come back to your site to get that relevant content. And it's only going to help them progress through the buyer's journey faster. But now let's take a look at contextualizing your campaigns in HubSpot.
Oh my, I'm sorry. This is my bad. I'm in charge of the computer with the slides.
So when it comes to contextualization, there are some questions you want to ask yourself. Things like, where is the lead in the sales process or the buyer's journey? Where are my personas watering holes? So where are they getting their information? What types of people are they hanging out with? What social media platforms are they on, and what types of content do they interact with the most? What data do I need to collect, and how am I collecting it? Do I have custom properties that are collecting the extra data pieces that I need in HubSpot? And then finally, what types of content does my persona resonate with most? Do they like blog posts? Do they resonate more with video? If so, are they watching video on the morning commute? Would it help for us to have closed captions? These are all things you want to consider when it comes to contextualization. And remember, you're using data to target specific groups, and ultimately this is going to save your business money, because as we mentioned before, you're going to end up targeting a group that's more likely to convert into customers at the end. So there are 4 HubSpot tools that you can use to incorporate contextualization in your campaigns. First, there's Smart Content, which allows you to use data in your CRM to deliver targeted content. Then Ads, which allow you to provide helpful, relevant content at each stage of the buyer's journey. Next, there's social media, so you can engage with customers, have scheduled posts, and increase brand awareness. And finally, there's the SEO tool, where you can view recommendations in HubSpot to not only decide what you're going to write about, but also what you can do to improve your content's performance. Now, as we go through these tools, we'll review how they can be used in HubSpot. And throughout this presentation, we're going to share quotes from actual HubSpotters who work with customers daily on how these tools have helped their customers be successful. So to get started, we actually have a poll. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how frequently do you use these these tools together? So everyone should now have access to the poll.
Ooh.
And while we wait for this poll to finish, it looks like Alyssa had a question that said, how do you learn where they're hanging out or learning? One way that I actually used to be on the customer success side of things before I came over to marketing at HubSpot. And one thing I really encouraged my customers to do was interview their best customers, ask their best customers, where are you getting the majority of your information, right? And if your customers are a little hesitant to do that, one great way to boost engagement there is offering some sort of bonus. So maybe it's 15% off their next purchase. Maybe it's a free review session. Whatever it might be, do your research and find out the best ways to do that. So whether it's through customer interviews or maybe just interviewing other brands that do something similar as yours, and if they're being successful, make sure you talk to them. Joy, do you have anything to add?
No, that all sounds good. I'm kind of paying attention to the poll. Yeah, the magic tool, I wish. So it looks like we're actually pretty split. We've got about 10% of attendees today choosing number 1. I haven't heard of these tools or haven't used them. About 33% have heard of these tools but have never used them. 3, some have heard and some have used them. 18% at 4, heard of most of them, use most of them. And then our 4% champions always use these tools with their campaigns. Amazing. So I'm going to end that poll now. And we're going to move on. I'm going to share results, because why not? Stop sharing. Cool. Annie made the mistake of letting me drive today. All right.
So now we're going to actually dive into each of these tools. So as I mentioned, as we go through each of them, we'll do a quick review of what that is, what that tool looks like in HubSpot and what it actually does. So with Smart Content, a module can display different versions of your content based on certain viewer criteria. So you can set up rules that determine what a recipient sees in an email subject line or the body. You can also use these rules when for viewers to see different modules on website pages and blog posts. Now, when we look at creating smart content, we want to keep two groups of visitors in mind. First, there's unknown visitors, and then there's known visitors. So using the cookies stored in a visitor's browser, HubSpot attempts to identify a visitor who comes to your site. So if no previous cookie exists, they get bucketed into the unknown group. If the contact is being cookie tracked, which likely means that they completed a form on your website and converted, they're a known visitor. Now with unknown visitors, you can create smart content based on their country, which HubSpot uses the IP address to determine, device type, so are they on mobile, tablet, or a desktop, referral source, so how they found your page, and then preferred language, and that's done by the default language that's set on the browser. And then for known visitors, we have list membership and lifecycle stage. And then Chris Eberhardt, who is a marketing manager, he was actually a channel consultant who worked in our partner program prior to this, says, not everyone interacting with your website is a stranger. So if you're running a campaign with an offer behind a form, a leader customer who's already in your CRM shouldn't fill out the same form they've already completed in the past. Ask for additional information to get more data points on your prospect. There's nothing worse than coming back to a page and having to fill out the same exact form information that you know this website already has. So make sure that if you have a visitor who's coming back to your page, you're asking for further information so that you can segment them down the road. So when we look at smart content with CTAs, forms, and text, you're creating a personalized marketing experience based on the context of who a visitor is and what they're looking for. So you're recommending content that's ultimately going to help them to convert into a customer. You want to step back and think about when it makes sense for a visitor to see something different based on their past experiences. So if you have a blog post that is talking about an ebook and giving a glimpse of an ebook, and that visitor has already downloaded that ebook, it might make sense for that visitor to see something a little different. Then this is going to accelerate a buyer's journey. And remember, segmentation is the foundation of all your contextual marketing efforts. So the more data you have, the easier it is to segment down the line. Now in HubSpot, you might create a CTA that says, get your apartment guide, and that's what visitors will see. Now let's say those visitors actually clicked that CTA and converted into a lead. Then the next time they come to your page, you might use smart CTAs so that that visitor now sees the free consultation CTA, and that's going to hopefully push them further down the buyer's journey. Next, we have ads. So you can connect ads accounts across any supported network in HubSpot, like Facebook, Google, LinkedIn. And with the ads tool, you can report on your success across networks and see which channels are working best for your business. Next, you can see exactly which contacts are interacting with your ads and automatically sync leads between HubSpot and these ad networks. And finally, you can create audiences off your website traffic like Facebook Lookalike Audiences. And when we think about contextualizing an ads, you want to make sure you're targeting your ads to the right demographic to find success. So when you're trying to decide the best way to present your brand, you want to ask yourself, what's the problem you're solving for customers? What solution does your product or service provide? And by hitting on that message in your ads messaging, you're going to be able to connect with consumers on a deeper level. Now here's another personal example. This, on the right side, you're able to see suggestions, and these are actually based on previous purchases that I've made. But I've actually never purchased from Wink, and this was an ad that came up on my feed this week, and it made me think about how Facebook is using lookalike audiences to target me. And Jory, who actually knows so much about lookalike audiences.
I thought you were going to say Wink, and I was like, ooh, called out? Okay. Wine delivery? Yeah, so sound off in the chat if you're currently using lookalike audiences on Facebook, because there's an important point that Annie made that I'd like to call attention to. So I'm actually going to go back back, not forward, on this contextualization and ads slide, because a lot of this information is information you should already be brainstorming when it comes to your buyer personas. Now, if you already have your buyer personas in place, lookalike audiences on Facebook are your best friend, because it essentially allows you to target your ads to people that are similar to people already in your contact database. So it can really expand your reach to audiences that are going to be more likely to purchase from you because they're similar to the buyer personas you're already targeting. So huge fan of lookalike audiences, and it really aligns with your inbound advertising strategy already, because it's very buyer persona focused.
And shameless plug, we have HubSpot tools that help you with that.
Yeah, if you're using contact list audiences, it can be a really great tool to plug in with your Facebook integration and use to build lookalike audiences. Totally. Yeah, Alyssa totally wins. Shout out.
Great. So then we have social media. So with the social media tool, you can publish to multiple social networks from one place, and you can also monitor streams. This is ultimately going to allow you to increase brand awareness and use engagement metrics to build relationships with people who really matter to your business. One thing that I also love about our social tool is that you can schedule your posts further out. So we have that for Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, maybe more. I feel like I'm missing one.
That sounds like social.
But my good friend Sarah, who is actually a channel consultant, says social platforms allow you to reach your audience in an effective and low-cost way. And I want to emphasize that. The reason why I love social is that it is free. So if you're not taking advantage of it yet, there are a lot of quick wins that you can get just from starting to use social. If done strategically beyond connecting with your audience in a convenient channel, social promotion can help increase your web traffic and drive new sales. It's a win-win. So now when we look at contextualization in social media, here are some questions that you want to consider. So what social media platforms do your prospects and customers use most? Like I mentioned before, if you don't know that, you want to do your research. So research social accounts of successful companies similar to yours, or research what your existing customer base is doing. What have these accounts done in the past to increase engagement and maintain that engagement? And then consider the time most people are on those platforms. So you can post during optimal hours. Is it on the weekends? Is it during the morning commute? Is it, on their way home as they're sitting on the train? Whatever it might be, you want to think of those important points. And finally, you want to think about the restrictions each platform presents and consider the best ways to get your message across. So for example, Twitter has a character limit, which I think recently updated last year to 280. And it's often the place where we see those really short, witty, memorable posts. But if you're looking to publish something that's a little longer, you might want to think of another network that's a better fit, whether that is Instagram, or maybe it's, if it's LinkedIn and publishing an article on LinkedIn, or if it's a blog post on your website page. Then we have the SEO tool.
Hey, can I interrupt you for a sec?
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
We had a question come in on the Q&A panel from Harrison, and it says, does that mean you can build lookalike audiences from within HubSpot for use in other platforms or engagement channels? And then he wrote in the instance that Facebook is not a channel we use.
Ooh, sorry, I'm trying to drive. So I would definitely, so I can follow up with that kind of after the presentation. But I would say that if you log into our Facebook tool and you have your Facebook instance connected, you should be able, under the create audience option, to select lookalike audiences directly into HubSpot. Again, that's specifically to Facebook. That's like an audience type for Facebook, but as long as you're all connected to HubSpot, you should be able to create that lookalike audience directly from HubSpot to target your ads to. But any further clarification, and I can totally jump in after the presentation. Absolutely. Cool. Where are we on this slide?
There. All right.
Okay.
So continuing. No, we love getting questions. So I'm glad people are asking questions.
Yeah, totally.
So don't hesitate if anything does come up. We're happy to pause. So the SEO tool. The SEO tool is going to allow you to optimize your pages and blog content for search engines to lead more organic traffic to your website. So you want to think about questions your buyers want to have answered and find likely topics worth writing about. Using our SEO tool, you can make sure you're going after topics that are going to help you build search authority. So find recommendations based on topics and use this as a brainstorm and a starting point. So this is not going to solve all your SEO problems. It's just a great place to get started. So you can start thinking about your topic clusters and really consider your personas and what matters to them. And what I love about our SEO tool is you can visualize how your assets are aligning with your topics and your subtopics. So considering the length of your sales cycle, do your assets align with the timeline? These are all things you want to think about before you actually go into really starting to dive into blogging on these topics. Consider your chances of actually ranking for those topics. That's what our tool helps you do. It's not going to automatically help boost your SEO.
But the recommendations can be really helpful.
Yep, definitely. Cool. And now I will hand it off to Jory.
It's my turn. Let's talk about data. Who's ready to talk about? So I had a large iced coffee before this, so we'll see how this goes. All right, so optimizing your campaigns in HubSpot for your 2020 campaigns. So I'm going to start off, let's do a bit of a refresher. So optimization is an act, process, or methodology of making something like a design, system, decision, in this case your campaign, as fully perfect, functional, or effective as possible. Ooh, I'm really bad at driving these slides today. So why should you optimize your marketing campaigns? This is a question that I get all the time. Okay. Ooh, I'm just driving right past. So marketing teams today are really structured to drive traffic toward websites, which ideally, if a campaign is structured correctly, converts into leads for the sales team to then close. So from there, once a marketing team really starts to convert leads at a high velocity, they really start to drive then more traffic to their site to achieve the same kind of conversion rate and result. Now, this might be an oversimplification, but that's a pretty standard marketing playbook. You know, it makes sense, right? Like you want to establish a replicable process for sustainable and predictable growth of traffic, of leads, of revenue over time. But it does come at a cost because few marketing teams are actually focusing on getting the most out of their existing traffic. So the truth of the matter is that this is where optimization comes in, right? Businesses typically have a finite demand for their products and services. So it's important to really focus on making the most out of your existing website traffic while you have those leads on your site. You want to really make sure that you're starting to think about optimization from the beginning of a campaign, so you can put these practices into place and not see it as so much a reactive process after you've completed all of the content for your campaign. So your HubSpot optimization toolkit looks like this. We've got adaptive testing, which is a feature that helps you iterate on your pages to solve for your website audience. If you're using other if you're using other testing software or kind of reporting software, this typically is called multi-arm bandit testing, but that's a scary word, and we tried to make it a little bit more simplistic. So HubSpot calls it adaptive testing, but if you're familiar with that term, it's the same kind of concept in HubSpot. We also have workflows which help you automate your marketing, sales, and services process to better enable your teams, but also create a better experience for your customers. This is Annie's favorite tool, and I would say a majority of HubSpotters as well.
Definitely.
You have your conversion tools, a personal favorite of mine. You really want to make sure that during your campaigns, you're leveraging your conversion tools in some of the smart ways that Annie mentioned before in terms of smart CTAs and smart forms, but we're going to dig into how you can also be using them to optimize your campaigns. And then you have my personal favorite, Attribution. So the attribution tools, there's two primary ones in HubSpot. There's contact attribution, which I'll get into in a bit. And then there's also multi-touch revenue attribution, which has caused a huge splash in the community recently. But essentially these two reporting tools help you attribute what actions are driving growth and really showing the success of your marketing efforts over time. So let's see if I can put up this poll again. Let's see. So we're going to do another poll. So tell me, on a scale of 1 to 5, how frequently do you use these optimization tools? So that is adaptive testing, workflows, conversion tools, and attribution reporting to optimize for your campaign. So already we've got over 40 people. Looks like these
wow.
optimization tools are popular. Amazing. So it's a little bit more balanced than before from the results that I'm seeing trickle in. So we've got about 50% of people are using some kind of combination of these tools, but potentially not all of them to optimize their campaign. And then it's from there, it's split pretty evenly between 1, 2, 4, and 5. So if you want to engage with that poll, your time is limited because I'm going to close it now. Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to share the results. Those of you that are curious, but we've got about a 51% split of some kind of combination of these tools are being used for their marketing campaigns.
I need to know who's in that group of, I always use these tools in all my campaigns. I
Yeah.
need to talk to you.
Y'all should be running this webinar.
I need examples for my lessons.
Amazing. Reach out to Annie, aka Kim at HubSpot.
Yep.
Amazing. So we're going to continue on. Thanks everyone for participating in the polls. So first we've got adaptive testing. Again, another word for that is multi-arm bandit testing. And it's not something that's quite new to the market, but it is something that is kind of new to HubSpot. So let's dive in. So adaptive testing is a variation test where traffic is split evenly between page variations at first. As HubSpot learns, so that's kind of to queue up the machine learning that's powering this tool on the back end, how these variations are performing. We adjust the traffic automatically so that better performing variations are shown more and poorer performing variations are shown less. Of course, as traffic fluctuates, the better or worse performing variations could receive more or less traffic over time, but it's kind of this continuous testing process where you're making sure that you're surfacing the right variations to your traffic and your visitors as much as possible. So don't just take my word for it. Here's a word from one of our experts here at HubSpot. So Allie actually works for our customer success team as a customer success manager. And according to Allie, adaptive testing is essential to optimizing your website for peak performance. This helps you cater the look and feel of each of your pages to your personas and solve for your customer experiences. So let's see. Yes, so Beth, it does have to be a HubSpot web page, or so Beth asked in the chat, does your site have to be built in the HubSpot platform to use this tool? Right now, it is a HubSpot specific tool. So a WordPress site wouldn't quite work for it right now because it's variations of your HubSpot pages or landing pages. But definitely something to add to the ideas forum because we want to make sure, of course, we're supporting our WordPress users out there as well. So some recommendations when optimizing your HubSpot pages, good addendum, with adaptive testing. Depending on your goal, you can start by testing variations of your website copy. So that could be that main text that people are seeing when they visit your site. The format of your content offer, is it that ebook? Is it that white paper? Are you giving a video, audio download? You can test based on your audience, the images you're presenting on your website pages or landing pages. How are you kind of generating excitement for your offer with the imagery you're using? Again, your form questions, Annie dove into this a little bit, but you want to make sure that you're continuing to build trust and not creating like really repetitive experiences on your forms, especially if you already have some information from the visitors coming to that page. And then ultimately also your page design, what is above the fold? What are you making users scroll to find? And being really intentional with the different elements that are on your site that way. So workflows, I feel like you should be giving this section. Workflows, you know, so I started in customer support, and workflows were actually my favorite tool. So I get it. So for those of you that haven't really used workflows, workflows is a tool that can be used to automate your marketing, sales, and services processes. And I think a lot of the love, but also a lot of the flexibility of the tool is that you can automate both internal processes, for example, using workflows to notify sales reps or assign deals to your sales team, or you can use them for like the external processes, such as automating your email marketing, campaigns, and lead nurturing. And I think that's one thing that I would caution everyone about, especially from the get-go, is workflows are so much more than just like email drip campaign tools. You can use them for so many different things. It really depends on like the amount of creativity and thinking you put into workflows tool. You'll get out as much as you put in, but it's definitely for automating internal and external processes. And Katie Campisi is also a senior customer success manager here at HubSpot. She also works on our customer success team. And according to Katie, anytime you're doing any repetitive or manual task with data entry, you should be automating and saving time with workflows. Oftentimes the customers I consult with, I being Katie, will only think of the email side when really this feature can help you do so much more. So again, making sure that workflows, you're leveraging them to help you save time even as you're running these big campaigns. Every minute's gonna count, just like every second of your customer being on your site counts. So you wanna make sure it's optimizing for your process as well as the experience. So optimizing with workflows. So here's some just 3 quick hits that you can consider when automating with your next campaign and using workflows to optimize your next campaigns. So a huge benefit of workflows is that you can set for your sales reps to receive email notifications when a lead takes a high intent action. In this case, we listed visiting the pricing page, but it can really be whatever high intent action you identify for your buyer personas. Again, another sales team example, making sure that the right reps are selling to the right territories. And again, another customer marketing play, making sure that you're delighting existing customers and making them repeat buyers, really coming to that delight stage of the inbound methodology, potentially offering referral bonuses to encourage promotion of your business. So while campaigns can be used to generate new leads into your business, thinking really critically about how you can get existing business or potential repeat buyers also engaged with your campaigns using workflows. Cool. So some of my favorite, the conversion tools. So specifically, the conversion tools in HubSpot are the Forms tool and the CTAs tool. In this case, my recommendation is to, of course, we've talked, I feel like, a lot about form fields, but also to consider thinking about the pop-up forms tool and how you can use the pop-up forms tool to create engaging lead capture options to visitors to your site. So who here is currently using pop-up forms in all of their campaigns, or at least some of their campaigns? Definitely sound off in the chat. I'd love to chat more about you, potentially after this webinar. Ryan, we've got some Ryan. Aaron, great. So it looks like some people are using some pop-up lead forms. And then we also have the CTA option. CTAs are buttons that you can use to really create conversion paths to different pieces of content to drive prospective customers to certain areas of your site. So both really important when creating campaigns in HubSpot. But let's talk about what Nicole says. So your HubSpot forms and CTAs, or HubSpot forms and CTAs, means that all of your data is syncing natively with your CRM. This enables you to automate your workflows, no pun intended. Nicole's great. Moving forward. So a huge advantage that Nicole mentions here is one advantage of using HubSpot forms, whether they're pop-up forms or forms in general or CTAs, is all of that powerful reporting you get from the HubSpot platform is consolidated on this all-in-one reporting system. Huge advantage when you're looking to eventually calculate the ROI of your campaign, making sure all of your data is consolidated in one place. So some quick hits when it comes to optimizing your campaigns with your conversion tools. So who here is using currently inline text CTAs? Because CTA fatigue and button fatigue is definitely a real thing. So when I say inline text CTAs, inline text CTAs are designed to look like hyperlinked text, you know, that blue text that gets that's often seen throughout like website pages. Yeah. Essentially what you're doing with an inline text CTA is you're enabling, again, all that power flow reporting from the CTA tool into your blog post, rather than just like a standard hyperlink. You're getting all of that nice reporting from the CTA tool. So rather than kind of putting buttons everywhere and encouraging users to click multiple different buttons, you're making sure that you're kind of preventing users from getting that button fatigue. And then also pop-up forms. HubSpot actually recently experimented with pop-up forms on its blog. And what we did is midway down certain posts, we actually had a slide-in box right pop-up form with a content offer relevant to that blog post appear. And we actually achieved 192 higher click-through rate than, and a 27% higher submission rate than just having the CTA at the bottom of the post, which is often a blogging best practice. So highly encourage thinking about how you're engaging users with pop-up forms throughout your blog posts, especially if blogging is part of your next campaign.
And just really quickly, if anyone wants to see an example of that, feel free to go over to HubSpot's user blog. We actually have to write for the user blog as Academy professors, and we are always looking to add those inline text CTAs.
Yeah, totally. Good point. And then again, on your landing pages, form tools that often get forgotten because they're a little bit hidden in the forms tool is progressive profiling and dependent fields. So progressive profiling allows you to change out certain form fields if a user has already completed and has information in their contact record. So you can change out and ask new and more engaging questions with progressive profiling. And then you have dependent form fields, which allow you to get more specific with your type of qualifying. So for example, you could have a form field that was for territory, and you could get more granular with the location of the lead filling out that form. So highly encourage, beyond just smart forms, thinking about how you're using both of those features to, again, continue to engage and gather information without also asking for too much information in one go from your leads. So then finally, we get to my favorite, attribution. So attribution, again, is a reporting tool that enables marketers and sales teams to see the impact that marketers made on a purchase or sale. Currently, as I mentioned before, there are currently two types of attribution reporting: contact and multi-touch revenue attribution. Contact revenue or contact attribution is available currently at marketing professional and enterprise, and it allows marketers to see what led to that initial conversion. So especially if you're looking for new leads, contact attribution is your best friend because it shows you, again, the assets that led to that initial conversion of a new lead. So revenue attribution, on the other hand, it's a little bit more tricky because it requires that your sales team is tracking deals in HubSpot and really tracking that revenue and logging that revenue in HubSpot. But what that allows you to do is at the end of a campaign, really track the exact assets that drove the exact dollar amount in the campaign, which is really powerful because I feel like ROI is this big black box that marketers have been trying to unlock for ages. And multi-touch revenue attribution, again, if you have that enablement with your sales team, it helps you kind of get that dollar amount down. So don't just take it from me. We got Liz Gallagher talking about attribution reporting. She's a customer success manager here at HubSpot. And according to Liz, attribution reporting is the best way to dive into your marketing efforts to see what kind of ROI each specific asset is generating. This makes it easy to see what's working and what's not so that you can continue to make content your leads find valuable. All right, so there we go. Optimizing with attribution reports. If you're using attribution reports with HubSpot, here's some recommendations I have in terms of how to use this to optimize your campaign moving forward. So before you start your campaign, really making sure you're asking the following questions. If you're using contact attribution reporting, you could take revenue and flip it out with conversion and get very important insight kind of regardless of the type of attribution report. So which campaigns have influenced the most revenue or conversions previously, which channels or content types are driving historically the most revenue, help you optimize for this time around, and which content, again, is influencing the most revenue and conversions in the past. So that gives you a good head start on where you should be in terms of content and channels to be focusing on for your current marketing campaigns. And then after your campaign, making sure that you're, again, tracking your performance, what went well, what didn't, by answering questions such as, how did this campaign perform in comparison to past campaigns, and what content did our customers touch last before deals closed? Again, some important insight to make sure that you're really driving the impact you're trying to as the marketing team. So I know we're running short on time, but we've got some examples of campaign success in HubSpot.
We will fly through these.
We will fly through these real quick. Okay, so who here has heard of Airstream? Has anyone heard of Airstream?
I have.
I have. So I recently saw a couple just like in the wild on the highway. It was great. So for those of you that don't know, Aaron's heard of Airstream. Airstream is that manufacturer of that iconic silver bullet travel trailer. It's one of the longest tenured recreational vehicle manufacturers in the world. See, we've got Bobby knowing Airstream too. So before using HubSpot tools and these campaign tools in particular, Airstream was suffering some problems. So Airstream's business model is such that they don't actually sell directly to consumers. So they're working much like other automotive industry companies with dealerships. So their data was a bit disparate. They were finding that their campaigns, particularly the ad campaigns, were running and they were very expensive, and they were really uncertain about their ad spend over time. So what they did is they used HubSpot to start to identify their greatest sources of large ROI, their greatest sources of revenue, and they really identified Facebook as a great source of leads. So they're like, okay, we're going to start running Facebook campaigns. So with their agency, they work with Element 3. They created quarterly lead ad campaigns for Facebook. So these were highly targeted audiences for their lead ad campaigns. And so what they started to do is develop also based on their contacts lookalike audiences so that they could make sure that they were, again, creating like highly targeted campaigns. So from there, they created their lead ad campaigns, and then with the workflows tool, created dynamic follow-up and kind of those traditional lead drip campaigns with highly personalized content. If anyone uses personalization tokens, they were Airstream's best friend, which would connect users that had clicked their lead ad with their nearest Airstream dealership. And this is a quote from Tim Morris, who was one of the digital marketing managers working with Airstream. And according to Tim, our teams were working obsessively to create content offers and resources that are generally useful to future Airstream customers at every step of their buyer's journey. The combination of Facebook lead ads integrated with HubSpot's marketing automation platform makes certain that this information is delivered to the right audience in the most seamless, frictionless way possible. So what were the results of using lead ads and the HubSpot platform to drive these quarterly campaigns forward? Well, they were pretty impressive. So Airstream had a 78% increase in leads generated for these campaigns, which was really important considering how expensive their ads campaigns were in the past, and a 44% decrease in cost per lead, all because they were starting to contextualize and optimize for their audiences. So that's pretty awesome looking at Airstream.
Woo. All right. So I am going to literally fly through this one. So
Okay.
First National Real Estate is a huge real estate network in Australia. They had a major problem, which was that their blog was underutilized. They were wasting a lot of time on manual tasks, and they needed to generate more leads. So what did they do? They ended up adding CTAs to all of their blog posts, and they gathered information from visitors to find out more about their persona. Then they used that data on their persona and created multiple workflows. So a variety of workflows, one workflow for each persona. And that workflow had emails that catered specifically to each buyer persona and helped them progress through the buyer's journey. And they also launched a campaign on AdWords and social to drive form fills. And in the end, they ended up increasing their leads generated by 71%. They had a 54% growth in unique website visitors and a 23% increase in total page views. So those are just some great examples of what some HubSpot customers have done.
Amazing. Okay, so some next steps while we still have you. Again, we're going to let Mark and Janae wrap this up, but just real quick. So we're recording this webinar. If there was anything that we covered that you want to kind of revisit later, and we're going to post it in the virtual hug forum on HubSpot community. But we also have exclusive content for everyone that attended today. So as you might know, a lot of these tools are powered by your data. And if you don't have good data, they're going to make it very difficult to use these tools effectively. So we created a data cleanliness workshop PDF where it will talk about kind of the best practices when maintaining a clean CRM and how you can make sure that you're maintaining your CRM effectively. And to kind of bring it into action, we also have developed a data cleanliness checklist. So it's a set of assets and steps that you can take to make sure that your HubSpot CRM, or just CRM in general, is working effectively and has the most up-to-date data, so that if you do want to use these tools for your campaign, you can do so effectively. Yeah, as Katie White says, a clean CRM is a happy CRM, totally. And then we also want to make sure that we're continuing to improve this presentation and all our presentations. So we highly encourage you to take this survey, which is just a short feedback form about this presentation in particular.
So just for clarification, the virtual hug forum on HubSpot community is up. Our assets aren't up there yet, but we'll make sure to post those shortly after this session, and then to send an email out potentially through Janae and Mark.
Yeah.
But we will hand it back over to you guys.